Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the GamblingCare.ie Podcast. Today we have with us Áine. Áine works in the Bagenalstown Family Resource Centre. Áine, do you want to start off by telling us, first of all, you're welcome.
Thank you. Do
you want to start off by telling us what exactly you do in the Family Resource Centre?
Yeah, sure. Well, I am the Gambling Harm Counsellor in Bagenalstown Family Resource Centre. I work on a pilot programme that is a collaboration between the Forum of Family Resource Centres in Ireland and Gambling Awareness Trust. There are, I think, 24 of us now in Ireland, and we work in the community with anyone really that's affected by gambling harm. So be it the person in addiction or their family members.
So when people come to you initially, so let's say first of all, let's deal with the person who's in addiction. When they come to you, what are you doing with people in a situation like that?
Well, I meet the person where they're at. So I need to, I suppose, find out why they're coming to see me first. Not everybody wants to give up completely, so I have to explore that with them. I suppose to date, my clients all have told me that they can't continue. They've tried it a lot of times and they're at the point now where they want to stop completely. And so let's find out what they're there for and taking it from there.
The people you meet are the majority of them in crisis, all of them in crisis, or?
No, actually the majority would be their family members. Most of my clients have been family members.
So for a family member to come and see you, does that person who's in addiction, does the person who's in addiction have to be seeking help, or will you take people who?
No, anybody who's affected. And I mean, we know that it affects 6 people or more for each person who's in the addiction. So any of those people, I suppose I've had calls from people where we could have like a session on the phone, giving them information around treatment, what I do, other services. I've had GPs contact me for information. But then I suppose the family members, it varies. It would be usually about a sibling, parent, child, and they're concerned and what can they do. So it varies between people as well. So partners need different help than maybe parents do or siblings do. So it's listening to what they need and working from there.
When I was going through my own addiction, I suppose it was very difficult for me to see the effect that I was having on other people. In fact, I would say that for a long time I was completely oblivious to it. I thought the only harm I was doing was to myself. When you're talking to somebody in addiction, how do you make them realize the harm that they are causing at home or elsewhere?
As I said, sometimes maybe on a first session, the people come in and I would encourage everybody to tell their story. Then it helps me get information as well, from everybody, and we can work on that in the future as well. My clients, so a good few of them seem to know. They're at the point where they know that they're doing damage, and actually they feel it's something we need to work on as well, because the shame involved and the guilt is difficult to live with. Apart from that, it's, I suppose, as you go through sessions, we do talk about family and what it's doing. And I would always talk about, I suppose I can share experiences without breaking confidentiality. I can tell them about people I know and what they've gone through. So it benefits me working with both sides of it as well, because I can use the information as a case study and inform or educate people.
You talked about shame and guilt, I suppose, of the person who's in addiction, and that's something we would hear a lot of.
Yeah.
Is that same shame and guilt very evident in family members or friends or significant others?
I think it depends on where they're at as well, the stage. If they've just found out, there might be a lot of anger and hurt. that can turn then to shame and guilt. How did I not know? How did I not see this? Why can't I help them? Again, it changes. Like it's a process as well. They go through various stages, and shame and guilt is part of it as well.
One of the things we did with Gambling Care was we did a little 7 steps to recovery thing, and the first steps was all about practical stuff. So it was all about the things that, I suppose a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about, and that is the finance side of things. Do you offer any advice that way, or do you signpost, as regards, because a lot of these people who come to you, we already said a lot of them are in crisis. A lot of them know, that there's no turning back from where they are. The house could be, because it is very hidden, and as I say, it usually is very far down the track. But is there a practical advice that you would offer?
Yeah, so I do both. Again, signposting, like there's other organisations. Like I try to be, I suppose, broad in the first few sessions and give a lot of information. Even I would send an email after just so people can go through it, because obviously they're like overloaded as well. But at the very beginning, I do suggest that somebody takes over finance. And is there a trusted person that is willing to do it? You have to discuss the impact that has on a relationship as well, because that's not easy.
It's quite a big burden as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a burden, and it can cause huge strain and arguments, because if there's relapse and the person's doing their best and, they're kind of carrying a lot doing that job. So they have to be clear on that. So there's a bit of education in that for both parties. And I would talk to both if they wanted me to, but I would suggest that they start off with a period of time where they hand over the finance. And if for nothing else, but just to give their head a rest. Because I find that they're so agitated and frustrated that even to say, I know people feel, oh, you're taking everything away from me. It's not that. It's actually, do you know what? I want you to have a rest.
Unburden.
Yeah. I want you to give your head a break, because there's enough going on. And I can see it when people are sitting opposite me and they can't sit still and they're looking at the clock, and, so there's so much going on. So that's
actually a really good way of putting it. I've never actually heard anybody relay it in that way before, that you're sort of unburdening somebody. That's actually quite good, because people do think, okay, so you're taking my control away. Some of these people could be 40, 50, years of age, and all of a sudden, somebody else looking after finance. My sister actually, luckily enough, looked after all my finances for over 5 years, and I was 29, 30 years of age when that begun. So I would have felt, I was at the age where I should be, and there was a little bit of shame and that involved in that as well. Control. I'm not looking for a percentage here, but how many people did you see would you be saying need residential treatment?
Well, for me, actually, so far only one person moved on. Okay. But that doesn't mean the people I'm seeing won't.
Yeah. Or don't need it. Exactly.
Again, I have to meet them where they're at. Not everybody wants to go. Not everybody can go. It's an amount of time that they have to be away from their family. Like if it's a single parent, or if they're working and they can't get time off, or they can't justify time off. I know you can say, okay, go to your GP and be signed off, but then questions are asked. And if you're from a small community, word gets out, and that can be really difficult to deal with. So again, I have to work with the person that comes and sits in the chair opposite me.
Yeah, because look, I obviously, the more people who stand up and talk about this stuff, regardless of where they are in their life, or I always think that's a good thing. But a lot of people that I would see would want complete anonymity. The first thing they'll say to me is, I don't want anybody else knowing about this.
Yeah.
And not everybody has to talk about it. And I think, it's important to recognise that. But, when it comes to family members, like we probably don't hear. Would you agree that we probably don't hear enough from family members who are in that situation? No, that's not me. That's not me judging, because obviously it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But would you agree that we don't probably?
Absolutely. I'm running an event next week and I'm finding it very difficult to get somebody to come and talk from a family member's perspective. It's complicated because it's not just themselves. They're speaking about their experience, but it's everybody's experience in the family. So, like, if nobody knows, they're just outing everybody without permission, maybe, you know. So it's like, that's one part of it. Also, it's very hard to talk about, again, depending on what stage you're at. You can't, like, I wouldn't ask anybody if it's just like all new. You couldn't, because they're that state of shock and horror that they're experiencing. It just wouldn't be the right time. I suppose people who are living with people who are a good while in recovery, that would be really nice to get them to speak more. But again, it's still difficult. Like, speaking publicly anyway, it's difficult.
So Áine, just from, I suppose, your own experiences and the people who walk through your door, like, I mean, to try and give people a bit of a grasp of just how big this issue of gambling addiction is.
Like, I can see it because it's hidden. It's very difficult. But if we think about the ESRI figures that were published last year, there's 130,000 people affected or who are compulsive gamblers. There's a further almost 280,000 who are at risk or displaying at-risk behaviours. And if we think about each family member or each family, there's up to 6 people affected by the person in addiction. That would be up to 2.5 million people in our small country, which is a lot.
As far as gambling is concerned, the stats will be very sparse. And I always think that the numbers that we receive are conservative.
Yeah.
And it's not that these reports have been carried out in a bad way or anything, but the reason why I think that is because it is so hidden and there is such a stigma still. And, like, can you talk to me also about, I suppose, when people think about gamblers, they think about the 20 to 50 or 60-year-old male. Is that your experience?
It is and it isn't. There's I have maybe a majority of young males.
Yeah.
But I have equally had people contact me about their mother who is in their late 70s, 80s kind of age group. I have parents of women who are, like, I suppose, yeah, same age bracket, maybe a little bit older. And I've had, I suppose, again, women, mothers contact me. Women are actually less likely to come themselves, which again, I'd love more work to be done. You talked about what more can we do. I think we need to really encourage women to seek help. I've had a few contacts, but then they haven't quite gotten there. So I'm hoping those people will eventually come, you know, but it's not just men, no. And I mean, I don't work with teenagers or children, but I mean, the studies say it can start from age 8, and there's a lot of teenagers experiencing difficulties. The way the online setting is it's more addictive by its nature, and there's game. It just seems that things are set up that way, that it's all it's against the person who could fall into addiction.
Can we go back on the women?
Yeah.
For a minute. Why is it so much more difficult for women to get into recovery when it comes to gambling? In comparison, you look at the rooms. Let's say you look at Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and you go in there, and there'll be a certain split. Maybe not 50-50, but in some meetings it will be very close to that. it's nothing like even close to that when it comes to gambling. Why is that?
At the moment, what I'm hearing is a lot of the meetings are dominated by males. So it would be difficult to go to, I can imagine. I know from my own experience, some of the contacts I've had, the information I'm getting or what they're saying to themselves are, I should be able to deal with this. This is ridiculous. Why can I not just sort this out? Like, it seems that they are expecting themselves to be able to sort it out and not understand it as addiction.
And do you think women feel that there's, not only do they expect from themselves, but there's an expectation from the wider society that women should not get caught up in this sort of thing?
Maybe. And again, depending on their personal circumstances, they might not be as able to get the services or go to treatment. And I think in the past, even the treatment centres would have been mostly male. That's changing. I attended a group in Coonmurra lately, and it was a male group, but I heard that there's also a women's group and a women's wing who are working with women and women in addiction and gambling, and which is fantastic. That change is happening, so hopefully with those changes, so will women seeking help.
Where has the women in gambling, where has that come from? Has it always been there, or has there been a point where that has changed slightly?
Well, I'm listening to a book at the minute, and what they're saying is that the betting on the lotto numbers in the bookies was like a big start for women. I can't really say back before that, but that changed things for women, and even women going to bookies, apparently, that they were actually going into the shops and betting on the lotto numbers. It changed over the years. I know the lotto had issues with it when it started, but I can't, like, all the names and all changed. And it was made attractive to women as well. Women are supposed to be more likely to buy scratch cards. That can be a big issue, and it is a big issue for many, but I think sometimes they don't see that. You know, they don't actually know this is an addiction, this is a problem. There's denial, but maybe it's because I'm just buying a scratch card. I'm not going to bookies. I'm not, is it the same? It is. We know it is, but maybe the person doing that doesn't know. It's really difficult because they're the ones that are not seeking the help. And I actually read somewhere, I'm doing my dissertation at the moment, and 40% of gamblers are women.
That's stark. That is stark, because that's not being portrayed as much as it has increased in the treatment centres and the Gamblers Anonymous meetings and the family resource centres and all of that.
They're not getting the help.
They're not entering into recovery. That's what a massive void is between, for me, with women who end up in trouble, and then find it very difficult to transfer that into asking for help or recovery.
Yeah. Maybe historically people may well have been more harsh as well on the person who is suffering with a gambling issue because they don't see it as an addiction. Even medically, it's only in the latest DSM has gambling been put under addictive disorders. So that may have something to do with it as well, because it wasn't, people thought it wasn't, so there was a lot of judgment.
So for a lot of people, and this is a recurring theme on you, that people see gambling addiction as basically somebody who's a few money worries, or it's a financial situation, or it's a financial problem.
Yeah.
Is that what you're experiencing?
No. The finance obviously is part of it from a practical point of view, but actually it's what it does to people mentally. And I can tell you that from observing my clients and how they're sitting in their chair and the discomfort and just pain that you can see that people are experiencing. You can see it in their body. It's addiction in front of me. As I said, I sat in Coonmurra with a group who very kindly allowed me to sit in with them lately, and they all were saying like finance is just not it. It's not about that. And even when you're doing the gambling, it's not about that. It's just not. It's mental health. It's your mind, that racing, busy mind, and just gets taken over.
That's brilliant, Áine. It's probably a brilliant way for us to wrap it up. Look, if there is anybody who's been affected, whether that be family members or somebody directly suffering an addiction, the number and the details are available attached to this video. So we've heard from so many people in the past who are directly affected by gambling. We're going down a slightly different road here. So affected others or somebody in addiction, pick up the phone, make the call, and change your life. Thanks, Áine.
Thank you.
I'm an All-Ireland winning footballer for Tyrone.
I've won 8 with Kilkenny.
I have 6 All-Ireland clubs.
I'm a double All-Star.
Me too.
I'm a gambling addict.
I'm a gambling addict.
Me too.
If you take 2 things from this ad,
Know that you are not alone.
And there is help for you.